Hey there everyone. I was going to be doing another PvP video today, but instead I'm going to be doing something else, a bit of archer farming. And the reason is there's this discussion which has been I've been involved in over the last few days about Spreadshot. There's an ongoing bug that's 1.5 years ago. Rumbles made this thread asking the community for some help to try and crush this bug with Spreadshot, and they just couldn't work out what was wrong. And anyway, so there's been a lot of discussion. It's still not fixed to the archer's kind of happiness. And so I've been trying to crunch on it myself. We've been discussing stuff here. And yeah, after great length of discussing some things and talking with other archers, other archer friends of mine, I think I now know what's going on. So this video is hopefully going to be discussing it and showing exactly what's going wrong with it. It's not actually specific to Spreadshot, but I'll get into that in a second. I just wanted to say that I was asking people to make videos because I wanted to see exactly what their take on it was and where they're having problems with it, because it's very easy for me to come in and say there's no problem when, you know, I'm not there farming with an archer every day. So what I'm going to be doing here is I've just done a speed test. My internet, I've got 2.5 megabytes per second right now, very slow. My internet I've plugged straight into, I have a router plugged straight into my my laptop here, which sometimes drops out to about 1/10 of what it normally is. So what I'm going to be doing right now is playing with low download speed, low internet speed, and then I'm going to reset it and get it high again. It's normally about 25 megabytes per second. So those are two kind of different cases, because there are people out there with low internet speed and people out there with higher internet speed, and that impacts things very slightly. So we may be able to see some difference with that. Anyway, what this comes down to is two different problems, which I'm going to go into one at a time. The first one is that Spreadshot, when you use it, it's kind of like the skills on the other classes, where the placement of it doesn't get fired on the target. Instead, it gets fired from you. So, for example, other things like Arcane Ball or you know, any Air of Effect spell where you hit the target and there's an explosion around the target, that is always based on the target. So it doesn't matter if you're desynced with the game, that is, that the game hasn't caught up with where your exact position is. However, if you're using some skill like Burst or smoke screen or Rumble on Night, that kind of thing will take it from your position in the game. And so if you're running really quickly with high move speed, then it will be placed behind you. This is something which every class has to deal with in some way. And for archers, they don't really have to deal with it with most of their things, which is why it feels very unusual, and why I think archers may be picking this out more than the other classes are. So Spreadshot has problems with this, which I'm about to show, and that is where it thinks the position's behind you, so the Spreadshot, the arc of the Spreadshot, will go out from behind where you are, rather than in front. So the target which you're actually hitting doesn't get hit. Now Spreadshot normally goes really far, goes beyond where the target is, beyond where you can, the furthest limit of where you can target. So it should definitely hit that target, should hit behind it, and with a bit of movement sync lag, it will still hit it. However, if you're running quite quickly, well, very quickly, especially with low internet, I think, then it often won't hit the target, and this is what people are seeing. So I've got my move speed at 160%. You cannot get beyond 160%. That is the cap of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run quickly through the map, and then I'm going to hit. So you should sit here, as you can see. The arc was kind of here. It even kind of stopped. It was short. It was very weird. Didn't hit them properly. Normally it's the normal length, but it just hits behind. So we'll see again. I'll run along. I'll use it on... Oh no, that screwed up. Sorry. I'll run it along and I'll use it on this guy here. So that was kind of okay, actually. It was only a little bit behind. You could see it hit the enemy there, but only a little bit out of sync. It's not always the case with everything, but oh, there we go. Still kind of fine with that one. But you can see on the first one, definitely it was a problem, and yeah, just generally, if you run with high move speed, it does become a problem. I will try that again, just because I wanted a better example. But this is definitely a problem when there are other entities in your game. So if you're party farming, then you get more sync lag problems, and yeah, you're not going to be hitting the targets reliably. So this is definitely the best place to show it. Yeah, you can see there, it was really far behind. And yeah, I'll move on from that one now. So that's one of the problems. And that's the problem with actually trying to hit the target you're aiming at. And yeah, that stuff. The other problem is that enemies load in from a certain distance away. They don't load in as soon as you load into the map. That's for improved game performance, and you know it's something which they need to have in the game. Problem is that our move speed has increased even more now, and so we can, if we run really quickly, get to the point where we run to where the enemies are still loading. So they're not loaded in properly, and it means that we can't attack them properly. So archers, they struggle with this more because they have to run. They run a long way to kind of get into the middle where all the enemies are, and then do the 360, which I just failed there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show it at the end here, because this map's quite good for it, actually. It's the last stretch. Oh, actually, here. Okay, see, that should have been a 360. Hard to kind of say, because I'm failing here, 360s. But, yeah, that's the kind of case where you go in and you attack the enemy. You could see they weren't properly loaded, and, yeah, just kind of caused problem. Here, if I run all the way through here, I know that the barrels are not going to be loaded properly, and if I try to attack them, it did kind of work, actually. But in a lot of cases, it won't work, and the barriers will not... sorry, the barrels there. But there'll be a lot of problems where then you try to attack it, but it's not properly loaded in. And you can sometimes use the skill, or you can sometimes use a basic attack, but the 360 shot is kind of dodgy anyway on that stuff. But the 360 shot is really, really hard to pull off on that. And that's where I think people are having problems with the 360 shot. They're saying like, oh, it's so tricky to pull off when you've got high move speed and when you're playing in a party and stuff. And I think it's mainly because these enemies aren't loading properly. Now, I have slightly different lag when I'm recording, which makes it kind of odd to pull off a 360. But hopefully I will be able to pull off the 360s normally, and you'll see that I can do it just fine. But yeah, if I start kind of running ahead, then it fails like that, and it just gets so much harder to pull off that then, you know, that was a normal one there. I could easily pull that off. And in fact, a way to get around this is to aim at targets behind you. So let's say I run along here and I run into this area. Now I know the enemies which are in the front have only just kind of spawned. However, the ones behind, they spawn further back. They, you know, have been there longer, they're easier to target, they've definitely fully loaded, and you saw there I pulled off first try, which, looking at my success rate so far in this video, you know, the fact I put it off first try, hopefully that's convinced you enough that, yeah, it's a lot more reliable if you aim at those targets behind you, or if you just pause a second in a big area. For example, that area at the end of Animar's Gold Sanctum, you can run past all the imps then close in from behind, and so you kind of want to wait just a couple of seconds for them to close in and come within the range, and then you pull off the 360 spread shot. By that point, just waiting a couple of seconds means everything's loaded fine. The 360 shot's going to be very reliable, and it's going to hit everything, and you're not going to have the problem of it hitting behind, which is what I'm going to try to show now. I'm going to go through, do a run of Animar's Gold Circle, and I'll be doing 360 shots, and at points when I'm running lots, you'll see that the 360 shot actually goes behind me, it doesn't go much in front. This first bit's a good example of it. Oh, actually, it did go far in front that time. But, stupid knockback. So if I attack behind, it's slightly more reliable, makes it easier to do. Just get in the habit of always pulling it off on something behind you. So here at this bit, I'll sort of run in, and then I actually like to pull it off over there. Didn't do it then. It's always a case of like doing it perfectly fine off video and then go on video and it doesn't work. But okay, alright, let's if we do it, where's a good place? If I go down here, you'll see I'll do the 360 spread shot, see it hit all those enemies back there. So that's a case of where, and also here, sorry, I'll do that again. If you run quite far away, you can actually if I were to succeed the 360 spread shot. So here I was actually quite far up. But if I was to run past here, sorry, I'm moving too much. If I was to run past here, run up the stairs, go along here, and then pull off the 360 spread shot when I'm stood down here, it will actually be as if I'm a little bit further up, and it will hit all those barrels up there. That kind of thing, because I run past these things, they've all loaded properly, I can shoot back at the statue. I think I like to hit this statue here, when I'm stood about here. The game thinks I'm here, so it does the 360 spread shot and hits all the things here. That kind of thing is the kind of thing which wizards and knights have had to deal with all along, with their trying to aim particular skills like rumble and and burst. And yeah, like it's much better to either take a slight pause when you go into a big area to make sure everything's loaded properly and it's going to hit everything, sync to your position to that point, or to kind of account for it by going a bit further and hitting something then. And targeting something behind really helps. I noticed such a massive difference when I was trying it out just before making this video. I was trying out hitting things in front and doing the 360 spread shot, and then hitting things just behind me and doing it, and it was much more reliable hitting things behind me. I'm going to reset my internet. I'm not going to make this video much longer. I'm just going to see if there's any kind of difference. I'll do a little bit and then start recording again, just to sort of know beforehand whether there is any difference. Alright, I'm back now after a reset. It's a good day, so I've got 38.6 download speed, which is pretty fast. I mean, that's enough to stream 1080p and all, no problems with that speed. Now, this hasn't changed anything at all. It hasn't changed the load distance of the enemies. If you run fast through them, it's exactly the same. It also doesn't change the sync problem. That's server side, I guess, it makes sense. So, yeah, there's still the sync issue that things go behind you. And then the only thing it has changed is the 360 spread shot timing, which has really messed me up, because it's now slightly different timing to do it. I got it there anyway, but there we go. Okay, it's going fine now. I had to do a bit of practice again to get the timing down. Everyone always knew that this was the case anyway, that it changes the timing. But yeah, so it makes no difference whether or not it's whether or not you have high internet speed or low internet speed, other than you've got to learn a different timing for the spread shot. If it does look the same, by the way, on this video, do let me know. Maybe it's just me. It just feels like it's different timing. And, well, we still get lag, because that's my laptop there, not the download speed. So, yeah, that should clarify everything to do with it, as far as I can tell. If there's something I'm missing, then please elaborate and let me know. But as far as I can tell, it seems like it's sync problems in the game, which is the same for every class, every skill, and it's always going to be a bit of a problem in the game. They obviously need to improve that kind of stuff as time goes on. Certainly make sure it doesn't get any worse. But you can account for it by attacking things behind you, which will help you get the hit going where you want it, because it comes out from where you're stood, not from the enemy you're hitting. And then the other problem is the load distance, which I will talk with Valendaria and ask her to see if there's any chance of them making the load distance a bit further away, so that enemies have loaded in properly by the time you run over to them, because we now have a high move speed. It's a bit of a problem. I'd also say, this may just be me, but chilling arrows, having this buff on kind of made the 360 spread shot harder. Enemies seem to die instantly and not really let me do it. But anyway, so there may be other factors like that involved, causing the buggy 360 spread shot to become harder. And I want to clarify as well, the reason why this, why I think this is more of a problem for archers than it is for wizards and knights, is wizards and knights, they'll go into an area and they'll kind of fire blast off at the side, or, hit stuff off at the side and then move to the next area, and they kind of attack as they go, stopping off at lots of points. Whereas what archers will do, especially with the 360 spread shot, is they'll run along to, take out this group, say that was a 360, and then they'll run a long way into this group, and then pull off another one, and then they'll run on to the next one, and they do very jerkily movement through the map, basically stressing the load times of the enemies, because they run into the air and they expect all the enemies to be loaded instantly, whereas wizards and knights will kind of go in there and pick things off, as they go through, so they kind of load in time. Anyway, that's just my kind of slight assessment. I do think that they should address the 360 spread shot and everything by adding a skill rune into the game which does it for you. So a farming spread shot skill rune that just instantly gives you the 360, just makes it a huge area. I think this 360 actually hits a larger area than the normal spread shot. So I would like it to have that large area, just to, fully put in everything that the 360 spread shot did, but just make it much more reliable. And then people can always, get used to the sync issue, and hopefully there'll be no further problems. As for adding a move speed buff onto it, or increasing the range further, I think that's kind of pushing it. I'll be doing a farming video soon, testing out the speeds, and then hopefully there's some assessment can be made. Anyway, thanks very much for watching.